Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa McCarthy, and in this video, I'm going to give you 3 steps to achieving stress-free telepractice. I'm also going to show you the 3 biggest obstacles or pitfalls that you might run into when you're trying to do that, and I'm going to give you an action plan to achieve stress-free telepractice, and we're going to do that without apps, without digital resources, and without expensive technology. So first of all, who is this for? Primarily, it's for early intervention providers. Early intervention is my passion, so if you're helping young children and their families to get great outcomes, this is for you. This is also for speech pathologists, teachers of the deaf, listening and spoken language specialists, and anyone focused on developing early language and communication skills. This will definitely help you to do that. If you're a developmental specialist, an early intervention special instructor, or a birth to 3 clinician, this method will definitely help you. And of course, any allied health professional who is supporting young children and their families will benefit from this method. Just so you know, I've created a training guide that goes along with this masterclass. You can find it at my website, melissamccarthy.com.au/training. Just click the download button to get your copy. So you don't have to worry about taking notes. Everything I'm going to talk about today is in the training guide, so I encourage you to download it. And in case you haven't met yet, let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Melissa McCarthy, and I've spent the last 10 years researching best practices in telepractice and helping professionals like you to transform their telepractice sessions from stressful to stress-free. I created this masterclass and training guide to show you how I use these strategies in my own private practice so you can go away and experience stress-free telepractice sessions for yourself. If you want to save time, money, and energy in your own private practice, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can talk about implementing this system in your telepractice business. So let's start by talking about the warning signs. What are the things that are going to stop you from getting stress-free telepractice sessions? Well, here's the first big problem that most early interventionists have. They struggle to keep children engaged. And we've all been there, right? The child won't look at the screen, they move out of camera range, they tantrum, or they sit under the table where it's impossible to see them. Or maybe you've had the opposite problem, where the child comes so close to the screen that you can only see one of their eyeballs. And if you do manage to get them in the frame, they don't attend for very long, they won't take a turn, they refuse to participate, and sometimes they actually disconnect you from the session. And it's really frustrating. So that's the first big problem. How do I keep kids engaged? Now, I don't know if you've ever felt like that, but a lot of the early interventionists that I talk to have had that experience. The second big challenge is constantly having to create new materials. It feels like you always need something new and exciting to make your telepractice sessions interesting. The resources you used in person don't always translate to telepractice sessions, and many early interventionists spend too much time sourcing and creating materials. It's exhausting, and it shouldn't be that hard. And the third big problem for early interventionists is that the communication in telepractice session feels awkward and unnatural. We can't hear as well through technology, especially when we're talking to children. Sometimes the audio drops out, and we miss important bits of information. The technology gets in the way of the natural flow of conversation, and we end up talking over each other. We spend a lot of time asking for repetition and clarification instead of working on the session goals. Now, I don't know if any of those problems sound familiar to you, but they are 3 critical issues that we need to solve if we want to have stress-free telepractice sessions, and that's what this video is all about. I'm going to share a simple model here that I think will help. This is our plan for having stress-free telepractice sessions. Remember our 3 big problems. Kids aren't engaged, we're constantly creating materials, and communication feels awkward. I'm going to give you the 3 big picture solutions to those problems and then break them down so you know exactly what to do for each one. First, we're going to start with engagement. Step 1 is keeping kids totally engaged. The first thing we need to do to get stress-free sessions is to keep kids totally engaged. In other words, kids are participating in sessions, they're learning new skills, and they're having fun. The second thing that we need to do is find a way to have all the resources we need right at our fingertips at any given moment without spending tons of time and energy searching for or creating materials before every session. And then the third step is setting up a relaxed and comfortable communication style. We're still going to use technology, but we're going to use technology to our advantage so that our communication becomes less strained and more natural. So let's get really practical here and look at each of these 3 solutions in a bit more detail. The first solution, and probably the most important one, is engagement. This is the first step to stress-free telepractice. And if we want to keep children engaged, there's 3 things we need to do. The first thing we need to do is to keep children interested in the session. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean keeping them interested in the screen. The screen isn't where the session happens. So if you want to keep kids interested, treat the screen as a window into the child's world. Next, sessions will be less stressful when children are focused, and the best way to help kids focus is to connect with them when they are alert and ready to learn. So if you want kids to be focused during your sessions, choose the right time to connect. And the third thing we want is for kids to be responsive during our sessions. We want them joining in, participating, and taking turns. But here's a secret. It's okay if kids don't respond to us. In fact, we don't need to be the most interesting person in the session. So if you want kids to be responsive, make the parent the most interesting adult in the session. When you treat the screen as a window, choose the right time, and make the parent the most interesting adult, children will be interested, focused, and responsive. They will be totally engaged in your sessions, and you'll feel your stress start to melt away. Now let's look at our second big problem. We're spending a ton of time and energy searching for and creating new materials. We need a way to have all the resources that we need right at our fingertips at any given moment. So the aim of this section is to reduce the amount of time and energy that you are spending on resource production and set you up for stress-free telepractice sessions. Just because you're using technology to deliver your sessions doesn't mean you need to create a whole new set of digital resources. You already have a toolbox full of tried and tested resources, so why not use them? The first step is to use existing materials that you already have. The second step is to reduce your prep time, and the easiest way to do that is to use familiar activities. Children learn through repetition, so we don't need to create new and exciting activities for every session. Instead, we can save time by using everyday activities that families are already familiar with. Finally, the third step is to generate new ideas. But you don't have to source and create all of the session activities by yourself. Parents are the experts on their child, and they know what their child enjoys. So encourage the parent to contribute their ideas. When we do these 3 things, use existing materials, use familiar activities, and encourage the parent to contribute, we reduce effort, we save time, and we minimize fatigue. And the best part is that we have all the resources we need for a stress-free telepractice session. Now, we have one more problem to solve, and it is a big one. Communication can feel awkward in telepractice. So instead, we want to create natural, relaxed conversations. And the best way to do this is to deliberately plan the way we interact with families. And I'm going to give you 3 strategies to help you do that. First, we're going to intentionally build rapport. We do this naturally when we're in the same room with parents, but in telepractice, we spend too much valuable time focused on troubleshooting instead of relationship building. If you want communication to feel relaxed and natural, you need to start by intentionally building rapport. Next, we're going to make sure that our messages are understood. This is your opportunity to take advantage of the technology. Telepractice encourages visual communication, so make the most of it. Use nonverbal cues to enhance your communication. The third thing we're going to do is improve the flow of conversation. In telepractice, we often find ourselves talking over each other because of the technology delays. But if we develop our listening skills, we can eliminate those awkward moments when everyone is talking at the same time. So this is your pathway, 3 steps to stress-free telepractice sessions. I've shown you the warning signs: disengaged children, constantly creating new materials, and awkward communication. We solve those 3 problems by getting kids totally engaged, having tons of resources, and setting up natural communication. But what does it look like in practice? Step 1, totally engaged kids. How do we do it? First, we let the technology fade into the background. We choose the right time for sessions, and we make the parent the most interesting adult in the session. Once we do that, kids will be interested, focused, and responsive. And they will be totally engaged in your sessions in a way that is less stressful for everyone. Step 2, tons of resources. We do that by using existing materials, repeating familiar activities, and letting the parent contribute. When you do those 3 things, you've solved problem 2, and you have plenty of go-to resources without the time and stress of constantly sourcing and creating them. And then step 3, natural communication. We create that natural style by building rapport, using nonverbal cues, and developing our listening skills. When you do that, relationships are stronger, messages are understood, and conversations flow. The stress of awkward communication just disappears. If you follow those 3 steps and the strategies for each step, you'll be on your way to stress-free telepractice sessions. And if you've got any questions, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. And don't forget the training guide. It's at melissamccarthy.com.au/training. If you're watching on my website, there'll be a link to download it on this page. Even if you prefer to learn from videos, I encourage you to download the guide, because the next page will show you where you can get help, it will give you more information about the system, and it will tell you how you can use it in your sessions to experience stress-free telepractice. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you.